Hi, this is Teresa, and my channel helps single mature women embrace retirement. By sharing my experiences, I hope to show you that you can have the time to do what you want and when you want, and that it is a possibility for you. So today I'm speaking with Alonzo Brumfield of Chosen Few Expats. I met Alonzo while I was in Panama, and he and his wife are expats who made the decision to make that lifestyle change in 2021. Alonzo operates the YouTube channel Chosen Few Expats, and he also operates multiple businesses. Please join me in welcoming Alonzo. Hey, Alonzo, how are you doing?
Hi, Teresa. Hi, it's great to see you again, and hello to everyone out there.
Thanks for joining me. I want to start with some of my viewers may not be familiar with the term expat. Can you explain that term?
Yeah, sure. So expat is just basically an abbreviation for the term expatriate. So when you expatriate, that just means that you're living in a country that is not your native country. So, that's kind of where the word patriot comes from. So it's called an expatriate or expatriate. So they'll call it expat for short,
Okay,
for folks who do live in a different country.
okay, thank you for that. And if you don't mind sharing, what caused you and your wife to consider the lifestyle change?
Well, I mean, there's several things that are going on back in the US, right now. Conditions are deteriorating very quickly, even more so now than at the time we thought about moving. I think we first thought about moving in the 2016, 2017 timeframe is when it first occurred to us that we may want to leave the United States. Because you have the situation with all of the mass murders, you have the high rates of violent crime. And I grew up in Gary, Indiana, which was like the reigning murder capital of the world, like every other year between like the 80s and the early 2000s. So, when you're growing up in the middle of all of this stuff, sometimes you kind of become numb to it. So, in the US, we're experiencing all these issues with these mass murders, the shootings. You have people being torn apart along every line possible, along political, racial, gender lines. You have the situation with the natural disasters,
Mhm.
tornadoes, hurricanes, things are escalating, when it comes to that. And the inflation is even going through the roof, to the point where it's hyperinflation. I mean, you got, economists saying that the housing market, the balloon may be about to pop on that again. So there's several reasons why, we decided to leave the United States. And for us, it's not something that I discuss with a lot of people because you don't know where people are when it comes to, their belief system. But, I am a Bible man. So, prophetically, there are some things in there, where the outcome for the US is not good. And that's kind of what we see developing right before our eyes right now. So all of those reasons together are why we decided to become expats.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. So if you don't mind, can you speak a little bit to what was your planning process and also how much time did your planning process require?
Yeah, so for the planning process, I mean, when you decide you want to leave the country, I mean, I guess the first thing you really need to do is kind of decide, okay, where do I go? Yeah, all these other countries. And living and growing up in the United States, we've always been told, that the US is like the best thing since sliced bread, and a lot of it is, there's a lot of amenities that come with living in the United States, but there are a lot of other great places out there to live. So the first thing we did was try to figure out, narrow down a list of where we would want to go. So we didn't really want to go too far away. We knew we wanted to come back, visit family. We wanted family to be able to come visit us. So that kind of knocked out, you know, Europe,
Mhm.
Asia. Europe was going to be knocked out anyway because we were looking at cost of living as a factor for sure, like most people do. Some Asian countries, you have low cost of living like Thailand and Vietnam, but there's trade-offs with that. It's on the other side of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
You have countries like Ecuador and Colombia that have lower cost of living than Panama, but there are trade-offs with that because those countries are less safe than
Okay,
Panama. So
okay.
basically, we started looking, we found that Panama was showing up on every list that you could look at that's like top places to retire. Although we're not retired, we're thinking, okay, if people are retired and willing to go spend the rest of their life and their golden years in this place, there must be something really good about it. So we really need to check this out.
Yeah.
As a
Okay.
matter of fact, Forbes named Panama the top country for expats to live in 2024. And it was like 82% of expats who live in Panama say they love living in Panama. And then the average is something like 68% for other countries.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
that kind of started the planning process. It's like, okay, let's see what's up with Panama. And then once we started digging into it, into all of the details, the cost of living, the economy, the banking system, and all of these other factors, I just couldn't be moved off of it. Even when I did
Okay.
some research on Mexico, like I said, Colombia, some of these other nations, a lot of those nations are developing countries also. Panama is a developing country. It's not a third world country like some people say. Some people just don't have the understanding. They think it's all shacks and,
Mm-hmm.
huts and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But, it is has a bustling metropolis. It has a lot of first world amenities. They have a lot of things that they're working on, but they
Yeah.
do have a lot
Yeah.
of first world amenities. And in terms of the time, um, it didn't really take all that long. We did have more time, of course, due to the pandemic. When the
Okay.
pandemic hit, that gave us more time because we thought we had narrowed down on Panama. And it's just like, well, okay, let's circle back around and take another look at some of these countries and other countries because we were able to go to Mexico during
Okay.
COVID. I noticed in your interview with Tamala, she said that her and her husband were able to spend a lot of time in Mexico because it was one of the
Yeah.
few places you could travel during COVID. And that's the same deal for us. We like to travel and we're like, where can we go? So we did end up going to Mexico. So it took another hard look at Mexico, but at the end, I just couldn't see, Panama overall,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
was a great option,
Yeah. Thanks
the
for
best
sharing that.
option.
I had not thought about becoming an expat, but in my travels to Panama, I've been there a couple times and I really do like it. I've spent time at the beach, Nueva Gorgona, where you are, and also in Panama City. And I definitely could see spending extended time there. I'm not at the point where I want to move, but I do feel like I could spend more time there. And you mentioned Ecuador and Colombia. Those are two places that I want to travel to also just to see. And I was going to ask if there were any other countries that you all had traveled to where you'd spent extended time, like a month or more, just to kind of get a different feel of the different places. So if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so for us, no, we did not because we were still working our corporate jobs at the time.
Okay.
I'm was an engineer, with a major printer company called Lexmark. My wife was an IT project manager for a major healthcare company. So we were still working at the time. She had more ability to work remotely than I did.
Okay.
We did not have the ability to go stay somewhere for a month at a time back then. We could go for,
Okay.
10, 12-ish days.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, like I said, of all of those countries, we did spend some time in Mexico, over the course of a couple of, trips, like 1 week here and 1 week there.
Okay.
But so no, we didn't have an opportunity to do that. But part of our planning was to take 4 exploratory trips to Panama. So we vetted it out, fully. We took, 4 trips here. We spent some time in the city and some time in the area we live in now on the Pacific beaches. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing I wanted to mention that goes into the planning for this, if people start to consider somewhere down the road doing this, a couple of things I think people really, really overlook are like the government structure of a country, because you don't want to move somewhere, go through all of this research and uproot your life to move somewhere. Then you get there and then like the government's unstable, there's a coup or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, the president's being overthrown, or, you know, or
Yeah.
say like the economy. I think it's important to understand the economy, how the economy works, what's the backbone of the economy, because similarly, you don't want to go to a place and get there and just have it just fall under like an economic collapse. So,
Yeah.
Panama checked those boxes big time. with their government structure and stability and with their economy, with the Panama Canal, as its backbone. That's bringing in $4.2 billion of revenue a year in a country that's only has 4.5 million people. So,
Yeah, yeah.
they have the backbone to survive and thrive, and they're on the US dollar. So I just want to
Mhm.
add that in
Yeah.
terms of the planning.
Thank you for mentioning that. I hadn't thought of, I know personally, I had not, and maybe because I hadn't thought of living in another country, but I think of what you're touching on as far as making sure you look at the government and making sure you look at the economy, because that is a big life decision to say, we're going to pick up and move. And then, like you said, you may get over to another place and it might look and feel pretty, but you get there and you realize it's not stable at all, you know? So thanks for mentioning that. I wanted to say, I think I met your wife last year during our visit. Does she play pickleball? And I know this is totally off track, but I think she plays pickleball. And one of my friend that was with me last year loves pickleball. I don't play, but
Oh
we
yeah,
actually
I
walked
play.
over and she got a chance to play pickleball with some of the other, I think it might have been locals and other expats there. Um, I do
Yeah.
want to just ask a different question that I just thought of, the importance of support of other expats and support groups like that live in Panama. I know you plugged into some and even seeing the pickleball group. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's important. It's one thing that I recommend that people do if once they do hone in on a country, if they do decide to do this, or even before then, you can join some of these groups. There's different groups on Facebook that's related to Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, all these different countries. You could poke your nose in there and kind of see what the people are saying. And you can also begin to develop some relationships with some people in those groups, which is what we did. So there's a lot of people that we met, like say, for instance, on Black Expats in Panama Facebook group. And when you do that, and then when you complete the move here, or even on some of your exploratory trips, you'll be able to
Yeah.
meet up with some people that are already here. You'll know some people. And then when you move, you may meet folks that you've interacted with on that page. And you guys, there's several sets of people where we ended up moving within a month of each other. So
Okay.
you've been talking to
Okay.
these people online for years, and when you see each other, it's like, oh, it's like the scene in Coming to America, with the guy, he's Prince Akeem, it's like, let's take a picture, you know. Uh, and so, there's that. And even after you arrive, you're going to meet a lot of other folks from different countries. Meet some folks from Germany, from Australia, from South Africa. And those are some of and Great Britain also, Canada for sure. A lot of
Mhm.
expats here from those countries. You're going to begin to meet those folks, develop some relationships with them. And so, it's good. It's good for some fellowship, meeting up, going to dinner, listen to some live music, going on
Yeah.
some trips. Or in our case, you mentioned the pickleball. We're into pickleball. So we've been to some pickleball tournaments, say in Boquete, and traveling with some of our expat friends and also some of the local Panamanians that picked up the sport as well. That's allowing us
Okay.
a chance to, mingle with them. And most of these are, a lot of them are college age students,
Yeah.
which is fun. It's fun to, interact with those young folks. And yes, it's important and very helpful to have those relationships.
Okay. And I have one other question that just popped in mind that I'm going to
No,
get
go
back
ahead.
on. Have you found, do you speak Spanish, or do you and your wife speak Spanish, or have you found the language, is there a language barrier? I don't want to assume that there is one. Is there, if you can speak to that?
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's definitely a language barrier. You're in a country that is a Spanish speaking country where about 80 to 85% of the people speak only Spanish. So, some folks that maybe work in a hotel industry, some taxi drivers, maybe restaurants, folks that work in restaurants, those folks may speak some English, but like you don't run into a lot of people who don't. So yeah,
Okay.
there is and could be a language barrier, but the thing about it is the Panamanian people are really very nice and patient. They're very tranquil, and they'll
Hmm.
work with you. And the interesting
Yeah.
thing is a lot of them, a lot of times I go around wanting to practice my Spanish and they're wanting to practice their English.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had whole conversations with people where I'm speaking only Spanish and they're speaking only English because they want to
Oh,
practice
wow.
their English. But I put a lot of time into learning the language. I would put my fluency level, well, Duolingo says I'm about like 45-ish% out of
Okay.
50%. I don't believe it because I think I hear a lot of words I still don't understand. So I think Duolingo is lying. But in terms of like sentence structure and being able
Hmm.
to listen, and then like now when they speak, it's starting to slow down a little bit for me. I can understand more of what people are saying, which
Okay.
is difficult here because of Spanish speaking countries. Panamanians and say Dominicans speak pretty fast. They speak very
Yeah.
fast compared to say a lot of other Spanish speaking countries.
Yeah.
So it has been a bit of a bear, but it's a challenge that we're up to. My wife
Yeah.
doesn't speak as much as I do, but she can understand a lot of it when she hears it, but just
Hmm.
maybe just not taking the step to just go for it and just try to say more. You're not going to always be right
Hmm.
when you want to say something and you're trying to think of the word, and it's only taking you like 3 seconds, but in your mind, you feel like you haven't said anything in like 15 or 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's just a mental thing, it doesn't, yeah, I just go
Okay.
for it, so
Yeah.
I
I
think, and
totally
it,
re
and the Philippines they respect that. They
yeah.
respect that, for sure.
Doing that. And I totally agree with that. I'm going to throw Cubans in with your list of fast speaking because I've got a friend who's Cuban, and every time I have to really listen hard, but she'll practice with me a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the question. So can you tell us a little bit about your channel, Chosen Few Expats?
Yeah, sure. So the channel, I started the channel and I think it was October of 2019, October 2020. I started this channel. So, we had already decided at that time to move to Panama. We had already made by that time 4 exploratory trips.
Oh, okay.
We were in the midst of the pandemic. We knew we were going to be quitting our jobs. So I started this YouTube channel basically to try to encourage people to leave the United States. That's the premise of the
Okay.
channel. And of course, Panama was going to be a focus because that's where we had decided to move to. But our desire and hope was for people to leave wherever it is they decide to go. Um, so we decided to start that channel. And that's a little bit that's behind the name Chosen Few Expats. That
Okay.
it ties into the Bible in terms of Christ, speaking of the chosen few who have, the eyes to see and the ears to hear.
Mm.
So when you look and see everything that's going on in the States and hear everything that's going on in the States, from a moral economic standpoint, political, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
there is a calling from on high to try, to get out of there. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what the premise was behind the channel. And we had a lot of footage and video from our 4 exploratory trips that we were
Okay.
able to, pull upon to create videos, even though we weren't physically in Panama. We had done a lot of
Yeah.
research for that. So I had the ability to start the channel and make several videos without
Okay.
physically being in Panama yet. So
Oh,
that was kind of the start of the channel. And then it just kind of grew into something, especially after we moved. And we ran into so many people like from day one. They're like,
mhm.
oh, watch your channel. The information really helped us a lot. And thank you so much. And, it was just an amazing feeling to have that interaction with people, that
Yeah.
have seen you, and this thank you for putting the information out there that inspired them. So a lot of these people we share this information with, they beat us to Panama. They
Oh,
they
wow.
they did before we did, you know.
Wow.
And even a couple of people that told us that they saw the information on the channel, gave them the confidence to move. Some people move sight unseen without a trip. Now we don't recommend that at all. Don't
Right,
do that.
right.
But it worked
Yeah,
out for these folks because they
yeah,
liked it. And
yeah,
so, yeah, so the channel from there is just, it's just grown. We've had the ability to then talk to some key influencers um, here, like realtors, relocation lawyers, some tax professionals, some healthcare experts, things like
yeah.
that. Have some interviews with other expats, get information out there. And then that morphed into when people having more interest and morphed into doing some consultations
Okay.
with people who want to plan their trips and plan their move. And that also then morphed into the creation of a Panama relocation online course,
Okay.
which is basically a lot more detailed information than we can pack into YouTube videos. That's like more step by step
Mhm.
on what people need to do to move to Panama, because a YouTube video, as you know, and are going to find out even more, you have a short attention span. You got to
Yes.
move quickly through videos. And at least with a course, it's more one-on-one instruction, and you can
Yes.
really take your time in the classroom type setting and explain things in detail. So
Okay.
that has now become one of our businesses. We couldn't have imagined it morphing into that, but that's what it's become. And then we're also going to get into some tours of the area here
Okay.
very soon as something that's next on our plate.
So, and I just want to say to the viewers, I am going to include links to Alonzo's information in the description field. And to me, what he just was talking about, speaking to, speaks directly to the possibilities that enter your life when you have time, when you slow down. Because I'm sure when he and his wife made the decision, they weren't thinking about all of these other opportunities that may have presented
That's right.
it's themselves because they made the decision to move. But I definitely will include links to the information in the description field because I think it's valuable to have. Um, so I wanted to just speak a little bit about, I know you have, businesses that you're running. If you can speak a little bit about the businesses, but also you've talked about the relocation businesses, but I don't know if you have anything else. But how has the lifestyle change? Um, I don't know, has it made it easier to operate the businesses? Like if you can just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So the interesting thing with this question is that with one of the businesses, the lifestyle change, has obviously made it easier to run the business. And that's the one you just mentioned. We didn't even know was going to turn into a business. We were just sharing information on YouTube. YouTube keeps like 45% of ad revenue. So small channels, you don't make any money on YouTube. And so it did become beneficial for us once we started doing the consultations and developed the Panama relocation online course. It's obviously better for us to be here,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
order to continue with that. And then in the next phase of what we're doing that I just mentioned, which is conducting some tours. We're only looking to conduct tours in this area around Coronado and Gorgona in the Pacific beaches, because we find that when people are coming here on their exploratory trips out to this area, they mostly are just hanging around. If they staying at a resort type of condo, you're mostly just hanging around, going to the pool, going to the beach, and they don't really get out and see a lot, a lot of the beautiful, sights that there are to see in this area in terms of nature and some of the things up into the mountains. We have river canyons, waterfalls. So I'm developing a tour for that. So it's obviously easier to do that here. But with our other business, which is we make and sell holy anointing oil, the holy anointing oil that's in Exodus 30 of the Bible, primarily selling that on Amazon. We have an Etsy store also, but primarily selling that on Amazon and soon to be just approved to sell on Walmart. So with that
Okay.
particular business, the move is more difficult for that business
Okay.
because just because of the nature of the product is not something that I feel like I can trust anyone in the States to make,
Mm-hmm.
because it's certain amounts of each of the 5 different oils that are in this, and because of the
Okay.
significance of it, it has to be correct. And the only way I can guarantee that it's correct is that I do it. So,
Okay.
we make that here, and I have to ship it back to Amazon's warehouse and soon to be to Walmart's warehouse. So that
Okay.
makes it difficult because I have to more or less bring in all of my materials because I can't find these oils here, bottles, everything else. So I have to pay to have those shipped in here, and I also have to pay to have them shipped back to the States. Whereas, in the States, you're talking about a $7 or $8 UPS ground charge to ship to Amazon's warehouse for like a 14 by 10 by, 10 box, 25-pound box.
Mm-hmm.
And here
Mm-hmm.
it's $250, $250 to ship that.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's a negative impact there. But you know what? I'll take that trade. I'll take that trade all day of being here, and having
yes.
that extra expense. I'll take that trade all day. So
So I have a feeling I'm going to have another conversation with Alonzo, but I know for the sake of time, I just want to give you, just a couple minutes. If there's something that I didn't ask that you want to share we've got about 5 or so minutes. So I'm going to give you a minute or two. If there's something that I didn't ask that you want to share, to
Yeah,
share.
I don't know if there's anything that you didn't ask, but I will just offer some advice because I know that, there's some folks watching. I know some of you may be nearing retirement, a lot of people still working, um, and just like we were. So I'll just give a couple pieces of advice. One would be to, start a business. Start a
Yeah.
business. If it's, the e-commerce business is booming, you can make t-shirt designs. You can get an account on, say, Printify. You can make a Shopify store, an Etsy store. If you have some talent making some kind of handcrafted things, you can sell on an Etsy store. You can do some digital marketing. Find some
Mhm.
existing products that are out there. Sign up for their affiliate programs, and then where
Okay.
you get a small cut of the sale, and go make you some YouTube channel, create a YouTube channel or
Mm-hmm.
create some TikTok videos, advertise those products. There are a number of different things you can do. So I would try to start, a business that may eventually grow into something that you can use to sustain yourself,
Yeah.
which is what we've been able to do. We haven't, obviously we had very nice, cushy corporate jobs. We were making, pretty good amount of money, but, living in the United States, we have that, we can have enough to support the lifestyle for the United States. But if you move to a lower cost of living country like Panama, you don't need as much money. So if you have a business, even if you're not in retirement age, and you can start a business that is generating some income, it doesn't have to be nearly as much as what you're making now. And you can take your business and leave if
Yeah.
if you so choose. Then the other thing I would say, if for those who are retired or approaching retirement, and I think Teresa's channel speaks to this, hey, this is your retirement. You have to, you focus on what makes you happy, as long as it aligns with God's plan. You focus on what makes you happy. Because I know when a lot of people are retired, they end up, turning into like full-time babysitter,
Yeah.
full-time taxi driver. People are calling you, take them places and stuff. Like, oh, you don't have anything to do. Like,
Yes.
I don't know if you're going through some of that now, but you don't have anything to do. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Which, yes, for your friends and family, you love them and you want to be helpful, but at the same
Yes.
time, you don't want it to be like a bearing upon you because you've worked all these years. You've earned this time is your time.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. And that's, if you're staying in the States, if you do eventually look to make an international move, I'm going to trumpet the same thing on another level. You love your family and everything, but this is your time. People are going to tell you you're crazy for wanting to move. Why do you want to leave? Don't listen to them. If you do your
Yeah.
research and you decide you want to go, go. It's
Okay.
like a gravitational pull of things that pulling you back to the United States, whether it's family. A lot of times it's family. A lot of
Yeah.
cases for retired folks is grandchildren. We've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people move here and love it here. One couple been here 20 years and now moving back to the States, spend more
Oh,
time with the
wow.
grandkids. I say, tell your son or daughter, put those kids on a plane and bring them down here to see us.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because
Just to give them a chance to travel and experience something different. Yeah.
not only that, but it's your time, it's your life, it's the golden years of your life. You should be doing and spending it the way you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would just recommend that.
Okay. So I'm going to say, I'm going to just kind of Thank you, Alonzo, for agreeing to join me. And don't be surprised if I reach out for another one sometime in the near
Yeah,
future. I think
sure.
it's a lot
Let's
of
do it
helpful information. Um, Again, to everyone who's watching the video, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you soon. Again, it's Teresa. Take care and have a great day.